One of the absolute best sneakers in 2024, and honestly one of the best basketball sneakers in recent memory, is now available in a low cut, and I had to get both, make a direct comparison, and tell you which shoe this rec league, bum knees, and bum back athlete would prefer. AE1 Ascent. Now both these shoes dropped on July 20th for $120. It is a pretty decently priced shoe, especially for what you get. And it's not a secret that everyone loves the AE1, but does everyone love the AE1 lows? Maybe, but we'll see. Now the first metric, it is colorway, and even though it's very similar in terms of the colors of this shoe, but one is darker than the other. So on the low cut, you get this kind of a very light grayish color on the TPU side panels. On the mid cut, you get much darker, almost blends into the black upper, and I think that just looks better. It's got more of like the nighttime and sleek look that I really like as a black sneaker lover. So even though I think the colorway on these are executed very well, probably the best colorways of the AE1 so far in my opinion. The Stormtroopers are close, but these two, definitely my favorites. And out of the two, not by a lot, but just off the pure fact that I love black sneakers, these get the edge. Now the next metric, it is traction, probably the metric that I prioritize the most for my basketball sneakers. I really think traction is super important, especially as a guard. And for the AE1, the traction is very aggressive. So you see this very sharp herringbone traction works very well. Probably one of the best, I don't know if it's the best right now, but one of the best traction in terms of basketball sneakers that's came out in recent memory. Works super well indoors, have not worn them outdoors. I probably will never do it, but I think they would work well outdoors as well. But if you're in a decently maintained gym, which is where I play at, it's not like the cleanest place ever, but in a decently maintained gym, it just works. It is a rubber outsole, very, very aggressive, very simple as well, not like some over-engineered traction. Now in a vacuum, the traction is equal between the two, but when you look at the outsole, the low cut actually has a flatter surface than the mid cut. Now that doesn't really make a huge difference in terms of traction, but it does feel different on feet, and I'll get to that in the cushioning part of this video. So it's not exactly the same. Either one, traction wise, you cannot go wrong. It's an absolute tie between the low and mid cut. Now the next metric, it is cushioning, and this is the metric where I feel like there's the biggest difference between these two shoes, which again is pretty surprising. So on the mid cut, it is full length Jet Boost, which is very responsive, very springy. It just feels really nice on feet. You can really feel like the reactive nature of it. But the low cut, they went with two light boost units. It's just slightly flatter or less responsive. And when you put these on feet, it actually feels quite flat. I was pretty surprised as to how flat this shoe felt on feet. Like when I first put my feet in, I was like, whoa, this feels very low. Like I do prefer basketball sneakers that are pretty good in terms of court feel. But this one just feels almost, I don't know, just kind of surprising. And this light boost is actually exposed on the heel as well. These aren't as bad as like the KD4s. I think those are pretty stiff, very little cushioning there. I think if you're young and you have good knees, you can get away with it. But me, with busted knees, not young anymore, I do prefer well cushioned shoes nowadays. Slightly more springy, responsive, reactive, more flat, closer to the ground. Now at this stage of my career, I'm going with this one in terms of cushioning. Now they could have really helped the cushioning with better insoles, but nope. Came with these absolute garbage insoles. Might as well put like sheets of paper in there. Insole for the low, insole for the mid, both garbage. Now the next metric, it is fit and lockdown. Pretty significant difference between these two as well, and there's pros and cons to each. So one of the good things about the low cuts is that first lace loop that existed on the mid cut version of the shoe, they've removed it, and a lot of people did complain about how that actually kind of restricts the flexibility of the fit. It's not as versatile for like different foot sizes and shapes. And also it's way easier to put your feet into the shoe. When I was trying to put my feet, my big fat white feet by the way, into the mid cut, it was difficult. Felt like I was like ripping the shoe, was damaging and hurting the shoe itself. It was just hard to put my feet in. So the low cut, no problems at all. But one huge thing, especially for basketball sneakers, I did experience some heel slippage with the low cut version of the shoe. Now fit and size wise, I couldn't really go down half a size. I do have wide and flat feet. I know the A1s may run slightly wider for some people without wide feet. For me, I had to go true to size. If I went down half a size, my toe box would really get jammed up. So true to size, it had to be for me. And the heel slippage on this one, just a little bit too much for my liking. And that is huge when you're playing ball. It just feels really unstable. Even if you try and ignore it, it'll just keep reminding you with every movement that there is heel slippage. So that was a bit of a deal breaker for me. And additionally, because it is a low cut, the tongue is slightly kind of shallower, it doesn't come up as high, and it also doesn't stabilize and stay in the same position as high up. So as time went on, I could really feel like the more stiff parts of the upper really dig into my ankles, and my ankles right here, it would really hurt. So even though in terms of fit and lockdown, there's good and bad for either one. In terms of basketball specifically, yes, it is hard to put your feet into this shoe. Yes, maybe it's more restrictive in the toe box area with that extra lace loop, but very minimal heel slippage. For basketball at least, I have to go with the mid-cut for fit and lockdown. Now in terms of weight though, simply because it is a low cut, less materials, slightly lighter, both aren't the lightest basketball sneakers in 2024. Nowadays, basically all basketball sneakers are like weightless. You barely feel it on feet. Personally, I prefer a bit of weight to my basketball shoes. I do like feeling like I'm wearing something on feet. So the heaviness of the A1 never really bothered me too much. I grew up in a time when like the LeBron 4s were dropping, and those are like wearing a house on your feet. So the weight difference between these wasn't really much of a factor for me. And just for your information, I am a wide and flat footer. For sizing, I do recommend if you have wide and flat feet, just go true to size. Some people go down half a size for the A1s. If you're wide footer, I probably wouldn't do that. True to size it is. And finally, the last metric, it is support. Pretty even here. So both shoes features Adidas's X-Plate, so that is added for more rigidity and more support. So if you didn't know, basketball sneakers, you don't want it to like twist as well as bend very easily. Both shoes also have double-plated heel counter, one on the inside, one on the outside. And no, that is not carbon fiber, even though it's made to look like that, but it still works very well. Also, the A1 does have a pretty wide base, so that creates more contact surface with the court. And both shoes also feature that very distinct TPU honeycomb pattern on the upper for added lateral support as well, preventing too much movement from side to side. So both of these have very good support, pretty much identical. Yeah, it's a tie for support. So just to summarize, we have colorway with the edge to the mid-cut. In terms of traction, equal. In terms of cushioning, easily the mid-cut. In terms of fit and lockdown, both have their pros and cons, but I think the A1 mids kind of edges it out. And in terms of support, pretty much identical. So overall, A1 low versus A1 mid, gotta go with the mid. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed at how the A1 lows performed. I was looking forward to this shoe dropping. I personally do prefer like a mid or high cut, but I know low cuts are like all the rage. The AE1 is one of the best sneakers of 2024. Honestly, one of the best basketball sneakers in recent memory. But yeah, with the heel slippage, as well as the pretty flat and not very responsive and reactive cushioning, it was a bit of a letdown. I'm not gonna lie. And I do wonder what Anthony Edwards himself feels about the low cut. He's been wearing it quite a bit in the off season, as well as in the Olympics with Team USA. But he's young, he's got great knees, and he's also like a professional athlete. He's not like a rec league athlete like myself. So he probably doesn't feel too much of a difference, but for a regular Joe like me, the mid cut it is. So that's it. Thanks for watching Sole Inclined. Let me know which shoes you would prefer, the AE1 low or the AE1 mid. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.